Hello, former comrades. And today, this is great, glorious Soviet AMSR. And now for the ASMR. Do like a deep guy Russian voice while doing this. So let's get to it. For Stalin.
Meanwhile.
So, James, I heard you have something interesting for me.
Yes, so I found that there is a trailer for RWBY Ice Queendom.
Wow, I've been trying to look for it. Well, kind of not, but I guess, what's it on?
It's on Crunchyroll.
No, I meant the trailer.
Through YouTube.
Wow, the one place that I think that it would not be on, it's on.
Yes, so on the Crunchyroll YouTube page, you can find it right there.
Yeah.
Posted a couple of days ago.
Crunchyroll itself. The trailer. Well, the show's obviously going to be on it.
Yes, but who's producing it?
Well, it's not by being produced by Rooster Teeth, but I think a team in Japan, which should mean good things for it, hopefully.
Yes, hopefully.
Yeah, that's the key word.
Yeah, and any theories as of yet of what it might be about?
Well, from what I've seen, which I haven't quite seen the trailer, but I've seen bits and pieces of it when people are talking about it, is it seems like it's going to be, well, obviously set in Beacon. Mm-hmm. And it seems to kind of almost be a, what's the word I'm looking for? A retelling of Volume 1, or kind of a, just an anime version of Volume 1, which I'm just down for, because at this point, even though I haven't quite jumped ship yet, I'm about ready to throw myself overboard.
Yep, for sure.
I've kind of jumped ship on Red vs. Blue.
Yep.
Which is kind of sad, because I absolutely love Red vs. Blue.
Yeah.
Like, I think I watched the one episode of Family Shatters.
Right.
Which is their newest season of it.
Yep.
And after that, just stopped.
Sure.
But I'd probably happily go back and watch the older stuff, even Zero. Mm-hmm. Although there's a lot of people in the Rooster Teeth community that's not a fan of Zero.
Right. So, what do you think? What do you think's happened to make Red vs. Blue sort of go so downhill?
Well, it's hard, because even with me looking into it, I was like kind of not sure myself. Like, I think it's just kind of the way the fandom is, as well as just kind of the way the company's going.
Right. So a couple of different factors
and that, and I can't quite pin it on one, but I do like Red vs. Blue Zero, but honestly, I don't think it needed to be called be a part of the Red vs. Blue franchise. It could have just been its own thing.
Right. Yep.
Like, the only thing that really ties it in to the Red vs. Blue universe is Carolina, Washington, and Tucker.
Right. Yep. Interesting.
Well, I should say North Carolina, just to be specific.
Yep. And I guess, there's sort of a similar thing which has happened with RWBY, except obviously the other big part, which was the original creator passing away. But yeah, I guess just sort of the company itself, Rooster Teeth, sort of falling apart a little bit.
Well, it's kind of been doing that for a while now.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the fans began to kind of be displeased with the company after it was kind of brought by Warner Media, which then eventually itself got brought by AT&T.
Right. Interesting.
I think they sponsored the one of the RTX events. I think it was the RTX at home, which I was able to catch that live. Lost a lot of sleep that week or weeks.
Yeah.
Just because of the time zone difference.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think a bit after that, I was like, I would love to kind of go over to the States to kind of go to an RTX live in, wherever they will hold it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, not really, because I guess at this point my faith in the company's kind of is, well, I wouldn't say my faith, it's just my expectations, I guess. But I guess expectations and faith is sort of the same thing.
Yeah, a little bit. Sort of go hand in hand, I guess.
And my expectations have kind of lowered a fair bit.
Yep.
Like, there's definitely a few personalities and that left in the company that I like, but I just don't see anything in their lineup now that kind of keeps me, entertained, and I have more fun just watching some of their older stuff.
Yeah, for sure. It is a bit of a sinking ship at the moment. It's pretty unfortunate, but
I think the biggest thing with Red versus Blue is with the sacking of Joel Heyman.
Right.
Who voices the one and only Caboose.
Yep.
As well as I'm trying to remember his name. It's one of the professors at Beacon. It's not Port. Oobleck. There we go.
Right. Yep.
I found his character actually quite interesting. It's a shame that we probably won't really see any more of him because of that.
Interesting. I wonder...
Probably the same with Port, because I think that was who he was voiced by Haywood, I believe. I'm not sure.
Well, I guess, there is that opportunity there with this new series of Ice Queendom.
Because, Good Witch was voiced by another member that actually... from Rooster Teeth that left quite a while before stuff like Heyman and that.
Right. Yeah. So I guess, with Ice Queendom coming out, there is that possibility of bringing back characters and maybe expanding on them, that didn't really get their time in the sun.
Well, I think Volume 1 did a good job. Like, I think it could have focused better with one of the arcs. And it's probably one of the most notorious arcs from the series, I guess.
Right.
And that is the Jean arc, which is a bit of a clever play on a character in the show, which is called, Jean arc.
Right, yes.
Which, I gotta say, besides the name, that's the only thing good about it.
Right.
It's like, the name's like a clever pun.
Yes. So good pun, bad story.
Yeah. And it just takes away so much screen time, which you could use for other things.
Yep. So do you think,
I think from what I've heard, the Japanese version of RWBY actually gets rid of it completely.
That's what I was going to say, do you think they would just get rid of it completely or try to make it better,
I'm not sure if Ice Kingdom's going to have it, though, but if they do, I hope they can actually do a better job.
Yep. Interesting.
And that's coming... But I guess at that point, it's the first volume of a show, so they're still trying to figure out what's going on, so it makes sense that there's probably going to be like a dud arc or two. Yeah,
it's definitely not uncommon for, good shows that have sort of unstable first seasons.
It's like, when is there not going to be an unstable first season?
Yeah, for sure. Obviously everyone part of the production doesn't know if there's going to be a second season. So, there's that uncertainty behind it all. And just sort of hoping.
Not only that, but I guess for the exciting news that I was going to tell you, besides you kind of brought that up before we started rolling, is that I've finally done it. I've done the one thing I thought I'd never actually get around to doing.
What is it?
I think, you may be able to guess, even though I haven't talked about it much, but I think I've brought it up a few times.
It is the 24-hour stream.
Yes, doing and completing the 24 hours of Le Mans.
Nice.
And I was able to do it, which, yes.
Awesome.
Even though it was kind of torture almost the whole way through.
For sure. What was the lowest point?
It's kind of hard because there's definitely highs, but there was a lot of lows.
Yeah, that's why I thought I'd ask that question first.
Yeah, it's like, I think the hardest thing was just kind of running down the clock. That's I think the lowest point. It was just so kind of. It just wore me down so much. Like, only a couple hours passed, and I was kind of ready to give up, but I kind of was able to persevere through.
Right.
I'm probably going to go chop it up and get rid of the moments where I've had breaks or kind of paused it, or
for sure.
It's more of a kind of cohesive narrative.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And probably cut out the few times where I had to use the rewind and that.
Right.
Which kind of leaves the door open for me to kind of come back and do the 24 hours of Le Mans without having to without taking a break and without having to use the rewind.
For sure. Yeah.
Although I probably won't run that vehicle again because it was a bit of a pig.
Right.
I love the vehicle. It's fun to drive, but not for fucking 24 hours.
What vehicle was it?
Well, I think it's pretty obvious. The GT40 Mark II.
Right.
Which had a 1-2-3 finish at Le Mans in 1966.
Right.
And is actually kind of I guess you can kind of consider the start of the Ford v Ferrari story.
Okay. I haven't seen it.
Because again, it was the GT40's job was to kind of beat Ferrari at Le Mans.
Right.
The Mark I kind of was a bit of a failure, hence why there was a Mark II, but I think it got to the point where it got up to like Mark IV and that.
Right.
Although the Mark III had a very short life.
Right.
Only ever being a prototype and never really competing.
Okay. Interesting.
Not only that, but it also taken the life of a good driver too in the process.
Right.
Because I think they tried doing like a K car frame and using this like it was like a aluminum honeycomb frame.
Right.
And I think the frame failed at high speed and it went and ended up in a crash. I was going to say flying off a cliff, but I can't really remember the details of the crash that well.
Sure.
But it ended up taking the life of the driver, which was Ken Miles.
Yeah, right.
Who actually finished first in the 66th race at Le Mans.
Right.
But due to, I guess, that finish and also some bullshit, the win I think went up to McLaren and that.
Okay.
Which, if that name sounds familiar to you, he is the founder of McLaren.
Yes.
Who actually ended up having a similar fate to Ken Miles. I think he died while testing a vehicle.
Right.
Which is interesting to see how two fellas in this kind of the similar line of work going out in a similar way.
That is interesting. I wonder if that sort of comes down to, sort of low regulatory sort of rules back in that era when it comes to, testing new vehicles and development and all that. Whether it was sort of just...
Well, I think it's just that line of work. There's always some risk when you're trying to, not only kind of push your machine to its limits, but also beyond.
Yeah, especially if, had that sort of dedication as well. You're sort of more willing to take higher risk in finding that.
Finding where the new limit is.
Yes, for sure. Yep.
And these people were behind the creation of some of the most amazing vehicles, in my opinion. I'm not sure if McLaren did work on the F1 or he had passed away by the time of its making, but I wouldn't be surprised if there was some of his work in it.
Right, yeah.
If the case was, he passed away before the F1 was, made and released. I think he died working on the F1, I think, but I'm not 100% sure. My memory's a bit shot, so I'm not going to pass with anything as fact.
All right, highest point?
Like the F1, though.
Sure.
McLaren.
Yeah.
Although they're like, $20 million cars now.
Yeah.
And Mr. Bean has apparently crashed 2 of them. Which has probably rocketed the price even more.
Probably. So highest point of the challenge.
Oh, the highest point is actually when I had to kind of actually fight for top position.
Right.
Because it was like kind of chasing down the opponent and then trying to get ahead of him. I just found satisfying.
Yeah, for sure.
And those were the highlights. It's a shame that, again, the way I had the difficulty, I had it so they put up a challenge, but then I had to crank the difficulty down once because it was kind of ridiculous thing how on the highest difficulty the buffs they get just make them almost impossible. So you'd have to run a vehicle that was actually heavily modified to compete with them, even though they were driving the exact same vehicle as you.
Right. Interesting. Because, I know we've talked in the past of, the AI being a little dodgy here and there.
Oh, yeah. Like, if you watch the stream, you can see a few times where I actually kind of test and see how the AI reacts to certain things and then kind of exploited it a little bit.
Right.
Around about, I think, before the 12-hour mark.
Yeah, okay. Cool.
Like, I learned that all you have to do is, like, if you just love tap them in the right spot in the middle of the corner, they'll throw themselves off the track.
Yeah.
And then you can use that to just blow straight ahead of them.
Yep.
Well, that's not the right word. I guess blow by. No, just fly past them, I guess.
Fly past. Yep. Cool.
I'm trying to think blow by. That had to be like an old English word or something like that.
Blow by. Maybe.
I'd say do that with like pull up a dictionary or something.
Sure.
Because I know it has to be a word meaning something. That's probably not what I'm thinking of.
Yeah. So
keyboard ASMR.
Yeah.
Yay.
Interesting.
Oh yeah, that's where it's from.
Interesting. So blow-by is the leakage of any combustion gases or pressure into the engine's crankcase.
It's just not a good thing.
Yeah.
But I guess blow-by would kind of, in the context I'm using it, also work.
Sure. So you sort of already mentioned it a little bit, but doing it again, what other things would you change to be?
Yeah, besides the vehicle, I think.
Yep.
I'd probably actually run the newer circuit because I was running that old car and kind of doing it more of a historical race. I decided to go on with the old Mulsanne.
Right.
Which it's just the name of the circuit, but it's like Santa Lorene or something like that. But the Mulsanne is referring to the massive straight on it.
Okay. Right.
Because the old Mulsanne, it's just a massive long straight followed up by another massive but quite a bit shorter but still long straight.
Sure.
But then that big massive straight at the start is broken up on the new one to kind of keep speeds down.
Right. Okay.
And also help, reduce the wear and tear on engines and brakes because if you were to come flying through that and come into the second straight, you would have to brake really hard because you'd be coming in really fast. But them having that long straight where you're kind of running the engine practically flat out just increases the wear on it.
Yeah, for sure.
But then for me, breaking up the straight defeats the point of that straight. That point of that straight is to test stuff like that. That's the whole point of Le Mans is to, especially the 24 hours of Le Mans, is to push the machine to its limits and beyond and see what breaks so you can improve it.
Yeah, okay.
So kind of breaking up the straight breaks it up because, it makes the vehicles more reliable and cause less accidents, but then you're not able to as rigorously test the machinery. Don't get me wrong, you're still putting through a lot of strain and stress on the parts and that.
Yep.
But it's not as intense as being able to fly down that straight and really put a load on the engine.
For sure. Interesting. And
actually, I'd like to get your thoughts on it. Should they have broken up the Mulsanne straight?
Well, from what you're telling me, I guess it sort of depends maybe also on the vehicles that are on it, that are sort of driving on it as well. So I guess it makes more sense back then in that era where there is still that pretty fierce competition to sort of push cars quite hard, both in the development and that as well. So, but I guess how does it work these days? Is like the track fixed in the new way, or can it be altered so you can do both?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure in real life, but in the game you can definitely switch between the two, and it looks like it could be just altered because it seems like they just throw up some tire wall barricades to go around on these little kind of kinks on the road.
Right. Because I guess if it's it just gives you two options, I guess.
But in real life, I have a feeling it's probably fixed.
Yeah. And
if that's the case, it's just. But I think Le Mans is also like a public road, much like a Mount Panorama. So
yeah,
it'd be but I guess they did alter Mount Panorama a bit.
Yeah.
Which I'm not sure what to say on that because I haven't really experienced. I've experienced the way it is now. I haven't experienced what it was like before. But if I had any inkling with what I have with Le Mans, I probably would prefer the older circuit or the older version of the circuit where the Conrod hasn't been kind of, well, broken up, because from what I've heard from my father, Conrod used to run all the way from Forest Elbow all the way down to the starting line.
Right, okay.
So it was one long, massive straight, but then they added the chase at the end to bring speeds down before coming towards, the finish line.
Right.
But speeds are still insanely quick anyway.
For sure. Interesting.
But considering I do love my long straights, I think I'd probably lean towards having that straight run, having Conrad run the whole length.
Yep. Cool.
People just need to learn how to brake. Or as my dad said, there's just people become pussies in that.
Right. Yeah.
Although I guess it's, I think, a bit of both. It's like the vehicles have gotten faster.
There is that.
And I think to a certain degree, I think drivers are a bit more safety conscious than they were before.
Yeah, I would think so. What about sort of the technical aspect of the stream? Did everything hold up?
It seemed to work well.
Yeah.
I just had my mic muted because I don't think people, with me whinging for 24 hours, would be entertaining.
Maybe.
Although, again, I guess you get to kind of see my suffering, but you don't hear my suffering.
For sure.
And boy, I was suffering. I think the amount of coffee I went through was ridiculous. It's kind of gotten to the point where now I'm sick of coffee.
Yeah, that will happen. Definitely.
So I think I went through, in about 24 hours, I went through, 2 of my travel mug and about 2 of my normal, my mug, which is actually, the coffee mug I have is slightly bigger than a normal coffee mug, so it actually holds a bit more of coffee. It's
a lot of coffee, but definitely needed.
And that was just at the kind of, all at the front end too.
Yeah, right.
I think it was split. I had it at the start and then I made myself another lot at the 12-hour mark. That was what I did as the part of the break.
Yeah, cool.
The reason why I had the front loaded though was because I did because I was planning on sleeping. I was like, I can't fucking sleep. You know what? Fuck it. I might as well do the 24 hours of Le Mans.
Yeah, right.
So I had to use that coffee to kind of help fight off the medication. So I was just taking sips here and there along the Mulsanne Straight.
Sure.
And that just shows you how comfortable I am on the Mulsanne Straight. I'm willing to literally take one hand off the controller and have a drink.
Yes. Cool.
And you can kind of see that where it kind of just slightly walks off the track a bit on the Mulsanne Straight. And when you see that, I'm obviously, either off distracted doing something. Yeah,
right. Yeah.
I wonder if you watched any of it.
I did tune in for about 5 or 10 minutes. And it was only by accident, actually. For some reason, my phone's been playing up just with Twitch. It hasn't been sending me sort of the notifications to let me know when people are online. But yeah, just randomly opened the app and saw that you were on, and I was like, oh, that's cool, and read the title. Yeah. So, and that was that would have been yesterday night, so about 7 o'clock, something like that.
Yeah, I think when I did come back from a little break, I noticed there was more than one viewer. For a bit.
Yeah. Yep. So that was interesting.
Apparently, there must have been someone who actually watched the entire stream because, I'm not sure about the first half, but for the later half, when I actually did check, there was at least one person watching.
Right.
So I wonder if there's one person who actually just watched the whole 24 hours. That'd
be funny.
I don't think I'm willing to go and do another one anytime soon.
No.
And actually I'm going to have to talk to you about that after this episode, but I don't think I'm going to actually have the time to pull off another one anytime soon.
Sure. Yep. Definitely. It's a big commitment.
Again, I'm not sure if I'm willing to kind of shortly after going through that traumatizing experience to do it again.
Yeah. From
to bloody clear my throat.
From what you sort of said, it was a little bit of a shotgun decision. So it'd probably be, a good idea next time to be a little bit more prepared, going in, preparing your body for it.
I know what to expect mentally, so I can prepare myself.
Yes. So
because that's actually the one thing I like about 24 hours of Le Mans. I hate it, but I also love it. Is that kind of mental drain on you.
For sure.
It's like, you've done a few hours. Now you've got 20 more.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah, it is. It is definitely a massive mental drain test.
I was so exhausted by the 12-hour mark. It's like I was both excited that I made it to the halfway point, but then it's like I'm halfway there and I'm already suffering.
Yeah,
and it just got so bad between the 12-hour and I'm going to switch over to the unit I was using at the end. 6 hours remaining.
Sure. Yep.
So that would be what 18-hour mark.
Yeah. Yeah. Was there a point? I know this has sort of happened to me before when I've stayed up a few times for 24 hours where you start to get sort of like delirious and, sort of things just become like a complete joke. Like,
not quite, but I think I had something similar.
Yeah.
Because the best way I can describe it is almost like it was an out-of-body experience. It's like...
For sure, yeah.
It's like, yeah, it felt like I was... the car was moving in that, but it didn't feel like I was actually, propelling it.
Yeah. Yeah. You've just sort of gotten so used to the movements that it's like secondhand. You don't have to think about it anymore.
Yeah, and I was... Not only that, but I was listening to music, and that also probably didn't help my suffering because it was just the last 12 hours. I was just listening to Peaky Peaky for 12 hours.
Right.
So I guess it's the 12 hours of Peaky Peaky as well.
Yeah.
Which 13 songs, and I think they take about an hour to do those 13 songs. Yep. It's a bit under.
Yeah.
So I had to listen to almost every song that Peaky Peaky has done.
Yeah.
12 times, practically.
Yes. Yeah. There's definitely not many albums of music which I think I could get through for 12 hours.
On repeat.
On repeat, yeah. Yeah. There's
and do you know what the thing is? I am not sick of Peaky Peaky.
Yeah.
Which I think just goes to show how much I like him.
For sure. So sick of coffee, not sick of Peaky Peaky.
But I've been doing coffee for a lot longer.
Yes, for sure. Cool.
I want to see if it actually bopped them up to the number 1 spot. I don't think it did because I checked about halfway through and it was still at the number 3 spot.
Yeah.
But that just goes to show how much time I spent listening to 1 and 2.
Yes, for sure. So this is on the Spotty Stats.
Yeah, I think they're going to change the name soon.
Yeah, I did see that.
Oh, shit. Okay, so I guess all that suffering wasn't in vain because now they're in the number 2 spot.
Right.
So I guess congratulations, although that doesn't mean much. Yeah. But if it took that much effort to get them to number 2, I just realised how much suffering I'm going to have to go through to get to number 1.
For sure. Who's in number 1 again?
Jeff Williams.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
And now in number 3 is Sabaton.
Right. Yep.
And that kind of just describes what I was kind of listening to a few years ago.
Yes, for sure.
Just throw in a bit of some older classics in there, and if you got practically what I was listening to a few years ago.
Yep.
Now all I just listen to is Peaky Peaky. So I guess that's gonna be my trend for the next few years, I guess, before I find something else.
For sure.
Although it feels like I don't think I can find anything to replace it though.
Yeah, it's actually a question that you just mentioned. Jeff Williams. Any info on him doing the music for Ice Queendom?
I'm not sure. If it's a Japanese team, I think they're going to probably get one of their own guys to do the music.
That'll be interesting if they are.
Although I think the score's going to be fairly faithful to the original, so I guess kind of.
Yeah. Yeah.
My bloody throat doesn't want to clear. I'm going to have to probably drink. Yay.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting if they sort of just do covers of the songs that Jeff put together, or
they would. I don't think they would, but it'd be nice to have Casey do the vocals though.
Yeah.
Even if they were to do their own thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess the opportunity's there for some cross collaboration, some feature artist sort of stuff as well. So
not only that,
interesting.
It'd be kind of hard though because I think Casey was 13 or 14 at the time of Volume 1.
Yeah, it'd be hard for her to get that same tonality in her voice because
I think she in a later volume she does kind of able to match the early volume.
Yeah. Right.
Fairly well, but kind of still, you can tell she's aged a bit.
Yeah, for sure. That's interesting.
And it's actually kind of interesting, and I'm not sure if you can see that example in many other young artists, like artists that do songs or vocal work for songs at a young age, and as they get older.
Yeah, I guess.
I wonder if you listen to the albums throughout that time frame, do you notice that shift?
I guess sort of the big one would probably be Michael Jackson. I don't think there would be. I mean, maybe.
Oh yeah, I forgot he started at a young age.
Yeah, so part of the Jackson 5, the family band. I wouldn't think there would be too many more.
I'll say no. I think she started at a. I was going to say Britney Spears, but I don't think she started that young.
Yeah, I think she was maybe 13 or 14, so maybe with her.
Maybe.
Yeah.
If you can
Justin Bieber maybe as well. I think he sort of started 14.
Oh, I forgot about him.
Yeah.
Now I want to forget about him already.
Sorry.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I don't know if there would be too many more. Not that I can think of in the moment.
Well, actually, on the topic of vocals, this goes into this next segment that I'm going to, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for?
Transition.
Not transition, shoe tie in.
Sure.
Is out of the 6 units in D4 GJ, which one has the best vocalist? Or I guess main vocalist.
Okay. Interesting.
Because if we were to go on just doing vocal work alone, I would have to go with, I guess, my best girl, Shinobi.
Yeah, I think I would agree, actually.
But again, she's not the lead vocalist of Peaky Peaky.
That is, yeah.
Although with
caveat.
some songs, though, she kind of does sort of take that, lead vocal role.
Yeah. I guess I'm not super familiar with who exactly is the lead vocalist of each unit, so it's sort of a...
Well, I could, also, I think there's probably a few names I've forgotten here, but if you mention the unit, I could probably actually read out the name of the lead vocalist.
Sure.
You should be able to remember the name of the lead vocalist of Happy Around, though.
Yep.
I like how I said Happy Around, but they would just tack the A1 at the end.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of sort of the other groups as well, because they're sort of, obviously Rondo doesn't really get a whole lot of time, and even Photon Maiden does get a little bit, but I wouldn't really say they have the greatest vocalists. Like, they're pretty good. But
there's definitely some good vocalists in Photon Maiden.
Yeah, but there's no sort of...
Tower's really good.
Yeah, there's no sort of standouts compared to Happy Around and Peaky Peaky, where you can really pick out who's singing.
Well, is there, and I think you could do blend a bit in Peaky Peaky, but I think that actually works really well just because their voices gel well together. Yeah. But them at times just Isra on her own is just perfection.
Cool.
I'd say if I had to do rank every member by vocals, I think just Peaky Peaky would definitely be up on the top spots.
Yep, for sure. Guess my...
Well, I guess probably not Yuka, because again, it's kind of not only hard to kind of hear her out from the other, but most of the time she's kind of just dueling up with Isra. As I dueling up with herself, but that doesn't work.
No. Yeah, I guess I was sort of a little bit inconclusive. Do you have a clear idea?
For me, there's definitely a few that definitely stand out.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, it's I do like Kayako, but it's definitely a tie between her and Rinky.
Yeah.
It's just the energy Rinky brings to her performance.
For sure. Yep. Yeah, I think that is definitely
But again, Kaiko's voice just really just kind of sells it.
Yeah, it definitely fits quite well in that style of music. Whereas, Rinku sort of, you could maybe argue that it doesn't fit as well, but then the energy that she
makes it fit.
Yeah, that she brings.
But even then, Happy Arando's style is more that energetic, happy style anyway, so it works.
Yeah, it makes a lot more sense. That'd be interesting.
I just kind of realised that I was going to do this episode without talking about T4 DJ, but what do we end up doing?
We warned you.
I think at this point you know what you signed up for.
For sure. Cool. Lyrical Lily's a funny one.
It's interesting when it comes to them and vocals.
Yes. Yeah. It's a completely different flavour. And I guess sort of the way that vocals gets used in that style is definitely different. So sort of trying to compare them, it's sort of a bit hard, especially sort of with Rondo as well, just because the style of music, especially sort of the
although I guess, actually now thinking about it, I think Rondo's lead vocalist probably could actually tie would probably actually honestly knock kind of Rinku out the park. Just kind of more of a tie between, God damn it, the lead vocalist's name's I don't know how to correctly pronounce it, and my pronunciation always changed to so I kind of use either, but Tisbrook, I'm just going to settle with that, Tisbrook.
Yeah.
Yeah, the lead vocalist of Rondo does an absolute banger of a job.
Yeah, she definitely meets the energy of the music with her vocals very well.
Not only that, but just the intensity.
For sure, yep, absolutely.
I'm not sure if there's many other vocalists that could kind of match that.
Yeah.
Let's see if you can think of a few names that could match that.
I mean, definitely when it comes to sort of a lot of the sort of power metal or hair metal groups from the 80s, so like Dio, Ronnie James Dio, he was able to sort of meet the music or sort of even beat it with his vocals quite well. Who else? Oh, what's his name? Forgotten his name now, but the vocalist for Van Halen as well.
I'm trying to think. I don't think it was Eddie Van Halen, wasn't he? The guitarist.
Yeah, he's a guitarist, Eddie Van Halen.
Didn't he pass away recently?
Yeah, a couple of years ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I can admit it's like a year or two, but
yeah, I'd say probably about 2 or 3 years. I think it was 2019. I feel.
Or either that or early 2020.
Yeah, something like that. Trying to think of anyone else. I guess sort of James Hetfield from Metallica.
I was just mentioned that.
Yeah. He's I guess he's got quite a limited range, but he definitely has the oomph to get it over that style of music that they play.
Well, I'm going to throw one out here, but I would like to get your thoughts on if I'm just thinking right or kind of thinking wrong. Eminem.
Okay. He's I mean, for sure. It is a completely different type of music, but his power definitely comes through for sure. Like his intensity, and that could be sort of the lyrics as well.
I think it's a bit of both.
Yeah, so it sort of goes hand in hand, I guess. I'm trying to think of maybe female vocalists as well.
I'm gonna say that's probably a bit out of my house. Probably yours too.
Maybe Susie Quattro.
That name sounds familiar.
Yeah, so sort of almost sort of like the queen of punk rock a little bit. Sort of
That actually sounds interesting.
Yeah, very, very influential to a lot of sort of female and male sort of rock stars that ended up coming out later after her. She has a pretty good voice and pretty powerful to meet the style of music that she sort of did early on, and then she during the 80s went a little bit more pop, but then sort of the past couple of albums have actually been pretty good. Gone back to a bit more of a sort of heavier rock style.
Well, I guess since we've kind of broken that, unspoken rule about this episode not actually having any default DJ in it.
Yes.
Might as well get your thoughts on something. What do you think this would work? Kind of combining picky style with Eurobeat.
Yes, I think it could work. There's definitely a little bit of it in there just with the tempo. I think if you generally took out the vocals, especially in the chorus sections, it'd come pretty close. You'd just sort of have to change the synth style, I think, to meet that sort of Eurobeat sort of thing, which is a little bit more less refined, I think. It's sort of a little bit more simplistic compared to the style that Piggy goes for.
I wonder if it's actually impossible to kind of actually use both styles in a way that kind of fits.
Yeah, sort of a bit of a mashup. I think so. Yeah, I think if there is a genre that kind of does that, I'm just blanking on the name of it. Yeah, I can't think of it, but yeah, so it does that similar thing where it's got the pacing of Eurobeat, but has the more refined, sort of polished element of what Peaky sort of does with that sort of mix of dubstep and sort of just dance pop.
And I think I haven't brought it up in the podcast, but I definitely mentioned that before listening to Peaky, the kind of stuff, the kind of music Peaky make was like extremely negative towards.
Yeah.
Kind of almost just kind of dismissing it outright, just like in the first few seconds.
Yep, for sure. I think I was sort of the same when it comes to just a general 2000s sort of pop music, but then one group that sort of just really pulled me in was Outkast. They just had a handful of songs which sort of were, I guess, a little bit on the fringe of that sort of pop music at the time, and then so once getting into them, then it sort of
clicked.
Yeah, it clicked, and it opened up the possibility to enjoying other music from that era.
I guess I kind of find it a bit easier to enjoy music from that era because I kind of grew up in that era.
Yeah. And
I think, wasn't there a study that it's easier to get into stuff that was coming out around when you're younger than when you are older trying to get into new stuff?
Yeah. I'm not too familiar with a specific study, but I guess just thinking about it makes a lot of sense. If you're... Especially
like a lot of the people, it's like kids these days.
Yeah, for sure. You've got the environmental factors of just hearing specific songs and sounds on the radio and on TV ads and things like that. So yeah, you're going to be sort of a bit more aware and a bit more conscious, having just heard that a lot more. And even when you go shopping, every shopping mall or supermarket has music on. So it's usually sort of like top 40 hits sort of stuff of the era.
Like, again, actually a good example, although I was still growing up at the time, was I kind of wasn't a big fan of Ed Sheeran, and there's a few songs I'll admit that are good, but I still don't like Ed Sheeran.
Yeah, yeah. I'm basically the same. I would say definitely early Ed Sheeran I wasn't really a fan of. He's got some songs which have come out in the past year or so.
I ain't actively listening, so I probably wouldn't have heard those, but I think I would have been the songs that I know more early. Yeah,
right. Yeah.
Because it was kind of when he took off in popularity.
For sure.
Around about that time, and all you bloody heard was him.
There is that as well.
That probably also didn't help.
No. So I think definitely for me, whether it's music or a TV show or a movie, if it sort of comes out and it is super popular, it's getting pushed by absolutely everyone and their dog, I generally tend to not want to listen to it and or like not want to watch it if it's a show or a movie, and give it.
Because people trying to push things kind of drives you away from those things.
It sort of counteracts.
It's like it's the opposite of word of mouth.
Yeah,
word of mouth done wrong, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
It makes sense if it's popular. You want to make it's going to make a lot of money.
Yeah, like a good example would probably be Squid Game. That was super duper popular, probably 3, 4, maybe 5 months ago now, where I just watched the first episode on Monday. So
I gotta get around. It's like on my list, but I haven't touched it.
Yeah, so
because I would like to kind of break into that kind of more Korean genre of movies and that.
For sure. Yeah.
Or kind of get into Korean movies because kind of when it comes to TV, kind of broken into the Japanese market, I guess.
Yes, for sure.
Well, actually, I think breaking is probably putting it lightly. It's more like I came in and smashed through with a bloody freight train.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the Japanese market is probably a little bit easier to get into, especially if you're already into sort of gaming and cartoons. Whereas there doesn't seem to be a lot of sort of popular Korean animation, cartoon style stuff.
Well, actually, but for me, if I was to go over to the Korean stuff, I think I really like Korean live action. Stuff like Train to Busan. I haven't seen it, but from what I've seen of it, it's like, I want to watch this.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's a lot more I can say than a lot of movies that are coming out of Hollywood these days.
Definitely. Absolutely.
Like, I haven't seen... was it episode 9 of Star Wars yet?
Yeah.
But with just how I'm not sure I'm quite sure. I've seen 8.
Yeah.
Again, it's just been, that just shows you my experience with it. I've forgotten if I watched it or not.
Yeah. It is definitely quite easily forgettable.
I gotta say, I was quite negative to The Force Awakens as it came out.
Yeah.
I think that was more because of what they did. And I think you probably know what I'm talking about.
Yes. I don't think it's necessarily a spoiler at the moment. But yes.
Because it's like, I think, isn't the rule of thumb is like spoiler warning until it's like 5 years old or something like that? Which, would The Force Awakens be that old at this point?
I think so. I think it got released like 2014? Maybe.
Really? I thought it was like 15, 16.
Maybe 15 or 16. It's been a while.
Yeah, I know.
But yeah.
Although, I guess I'm still kind of pissed off about what they did with that.
Sure.
Because it kind of really led nowhere, or if it did such a shit job that I wasn't kind of able to connect the dots, or again, didn't do a good enough job for me to care about it. And I'm still kind of pissed off because they did that and then not really having that cause and effect.
For sure.
Or if they did that cause and effect, it was so half-assed.
Yes, I would definitely agree. It, I think them doing it for me wasn't a massive problem. But yeah, sort of them not following it up and, paying proper respect to such a character. Didn't make a lot of sense.
Not only that, but the wreck. Even though I can't really remember much about 8 or 9, the retcon they did, like, kind of.
Yep.
Because didn't they retcon the ending of 8?
kind of. I guess it's, there was definitely a lot of controversy. There was even petitions of fans trying to get episode 8 just completely removed from canon.
And I think Disney kind of sort of went ahead and did that anyway.
I don't think so. It's funny because if you look at reviews from the time when just after it was released, everyone was basically saying how bad it was. But in retrospect, I think maybe it could have even been just because episode 9 was so much worse that people actually went back and rewatched 8.
Oh, that's definitely an effect that I can confirm exists, is that people say this thing's bad, then another thing comes along in that franchise that's so much worse. It's like, this thing's a masterpiece.
Yeah. So I don't know if
just look at RWBY.
Yeah.
I think the reason why people like volumes 1 to 3 so much is just kind of how it fell off a cliff after that.
Sure. Yeah. So
I think that's what props up, volume 1 and 3, even though they do have their fair share of problems as the volumes afterwards do.
Yeah. So I don't know if that sort of thing has happened with Star Wars, but
I know the initial reviews in that For Awakens was very positive, and then everyone started tearing it a new asshole a bit afterwards.
Yeah, so almost sort of like the opposite happened with episode 7, but yeah.
Haven't they gone back to the original trilogy and then they kind of re-reviewed it, and it's kind of...
I think, a lot of people do, obviously new reviewers coming onto the scene. It's definitely, it definitely holds up for sure.
I think, there's just stuff like that. Things become, kind of classics for a reason.
Yeah, and many people have, written essays and things like that on A New Hope, and obviously it's the classic telling of the hero's journey from start to finish, pretty much. So
not only that, but actually an interesting story of something that wasn't much of a success when it came out, but now is regarded as a cult classic, and actually probably my most favorite genre of all time, which kind of gives it away what it is. God damn it, Throat. Can you please stop clogging up for just 2 seconds? There's my rack, so I can give her a good old... There we go. That should have cleared it out. I guess you just muted me for a sec there, I guess.
Yes.
Although I think your mic still picked it up. There she goes. And we're back.
Yeah.
And as I said, I think I kind of gave it away, mentioning that it's a drama.
It
was not well received when it came out, and now it's like, regarded as the cult classic.
Right. There's many options, and drama's a pretty big category. Not sure. You'll have to fill me in.
Although, I think this... Actually, I want to see how many hits I can give away before you get it.
Sure.
It definitely feels like... Well, it definitely kind of feels like the time period it came out in, if you were to go and watch it now.
Okay.
It just screams the decade it came out in. Both in the setting and soundtrack.
Okay. I had an idea, but I don't think it's right.
Well,
I'm going to say Pulp Fiction, but I'm not sure.
I'm not sure. Did that actually get a bit of a negative reception when it came out?
I think so, but I sort of was more thinking cult classic, which it definitely is. Even though it's definitely one of my favorites.
I think you've talked about it a fair bit.
Yeah.
It's on my list to watch.
Yeah.
I guess by the sounds of it, I should watch.
Definitely recommend. I'm not sure. Give me another clue.
Well, I might as well give you since it's kind of, as I said, well hinted about it, kind of really kind of feeling, like kind of it being, from its time period and also being set in that same time period.
Sure.
It came out in the 80s, but also was kind of set in the 80s.
Right. Okay, and it's a drama from the 80s that is very...
I say, like, that's probably I think that would be just a dead giveaway for us to tell you, like, the main character's actor.
That would be...
Yeah, the dead giveaway.
I think so.
Or if you weren't able to get it, if I was to give you that, then there'd be no way you'd get it.
Yeah.
Guess it. Well, there's a chance that you may not be familiar with the actor or if knew he did that role, but...
Yeah, there could be.
But considering it's regarded as a cult classic, I think you should be familiar with it.
I mean, I'm thinking of all the 80s classic sort of movies, but I wouldn't categorize them as a drama. So I guess maybe there could be more sort of action drama.
Yeah, I think it kind of fits under that. Because it does have drama elements in it, but it does have its fair bit of action.
Rambo?
No. Although I think it's more... It does have like scenes of action, but I think it's more towards the drama side of things.
Sure. Rocky?
No. I think we're going to be a whole hit delta you guessing.
Yes.
Well, I guess I like your scattered-shot approach.
Any other potential clues?
I'm just trying to think without giving it away, but give you enough evidence to be, that's that.
Yeah. That's the truth.
That would give it away. I think, this would be a dead giveaway, but one of the common criticisms, and that's because at the time it came out, was just the excessive use of language.
Okay.
Even though the language wasn't that bad, but just because of the time it came out, where it was a lot more conservative.
Sure. Okay.
One day, actually, how many people here that's listening to this have probably figured it out.
Screaming it at me. Man.
I can't remember. I think someone did count like all the foul language in it, and it was like a lot, and it worked out to be like quite a few, like quite frequently too, like a ratio for like runtime to the amount of words.
Right.
But I can't remember the specifics.
Sure.
But apparently I like stuff that has a lot of foul language quite frequently, because like Black Lagoon had like, I think it's not like, I think it was like every few minutes. No, I think it's like every 14 seconds or so there's like a swear word just for its runtime and the amount of it's said.
Okay.
So yeah, so it's kind of probably something similar to that, well, similar ratio to Black Lagoon, where it's
for sure. All right.
Although I don't remember. Like I know it's used quite a fair bit, but there's not a lot of scenes where I can, off the top of my head, where it's used. I think it's just in the scenes where it's used so frequently in those scenes it just racks up a high count.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I know Mel Gibson.
Nah, he's not involved.
So
I'll give you that hint. Mel Gibson is not involved in it, or at least not to my knowledge.
Sure. I'm trying to think if there is a lot of swearing. That might have been a bit of a risk for the lead actor to be known to be in a film with so much swearing at that point in time.
I'll just say there is one interesting vehicle in it, and it's actually owned by the main character, and it is a Porsche 928.
Okay.
Which you probably don't even know what that is.
No.
Do you know that green Porsche I was modding in racing? That's it.
Okay, sure.
That was a 928.
Yeah.
Or related to the 928.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I don't think that would have been a giveaway for me, but not for you. I don't think that helped at all.
I think when you sort of said Porsche, I was sort of thinking James Bond, but then I don't think that would
really
make
Porsche
sense.
has much ties with James the
Yeah.
007 franchise.
I think no, I think they use Rolls Royce or something.
No, it's mostly Aston Martin. But
that's it.
There's been a few that it's been other brands, like I think BMW.
Yeah.
When those movies came out, and it's funny is actually when the James Bond movies come out, guess what happens? Aston Martin sales go up, except for when they did movies where the Aston Martin wasn't the main car.
Right. That makes sense.
So I wonder if I think in the later James Bond's film used the DB5. I wonder if sales of DB5s went up even though they've been out of production for decades.
Maybe the value for them would have went
definitely.
up. Yeah. Okay. Does it have Eddie Murphy in it?
No.
No. Okay. I know he did a lot of swearing in his comedy specials, but maybe not so much in movies.
Well, I might as well give this hint, which I think would have given it away. I guess I could say it's set in the state of Florida. I'm going to leave it at that.
Okay. Set in Florida. Is there a prison involved?
No.
No. Okay, it's not.
Say Shawshank, but didn't that not come out?
No, I wasn't thinking Shawshank. There's a movie with, oh man, what's his name? Woody Harrelson, and there's a female actor as well. I can't remember her name. But that was. I can't remember the name of the movie either, but yeah, that's sort of
that doesn't help.
That definitely that movie definitely has cult status as well. Sort of very similar to Pulp Fiction.
Not only that, but another thing is that there's a lot of iconic lines from that movie that is also heavily quoted.
Okay.
And also referenced to, but that's just because again of its popularity.
Sure. Thinking other big 80s stars. Does it have Arnold Schwarzenegger in it? No. Okay.
Not only that, but apparently there was supposed to be like another one, which is kind of a part of it, which would make it a disconnected trilogy, but a trilogy nonetheless was apparently in the works, but I'm not sure where that's going.
Right. Okay.
I think it's kind of in development hell.
Right.
From what I've read on it, how it's going.
So is this particular movie the first or the second?
Second.
Okay. So it's the sequel.
I think the first. Well, it's not really a sequel, but it shares the name, and that's what I kind of mean by being a disconnected trilogy.
Right.
It shares the name, but there's no real ties. And I think the first one came out like around the 40s or 30s.
Right.
And again, the only thing it really shared between those two was the name.
Sure.
Although if you can't think of the name of it now, I don't think you would be able to figure out the name for that movie because I don't think you're familiar with stuff from like the 30s, 40s.
A little bit, but definitely. I mean, I was sort of thinking Godzilla, but that definitely didn't come out in the 80s. That was early 2000s, the American recreation, but the original came out in sort of the 30s or 40s. Same with sort of King Kong. But yeah, they're definitely both not dramas with a lot of swearing.
I say this is kind of fun. Probably not for the audience. Though.
No. Yeah, you might have to give me the answer because I'm drawing straws.
Well, there is a tiger in it. I'm going to give you that much.
There's a tiger.
Okay. It's really completely irrelevant to the story, but
right.
There is a tiger in it.
Okay.
But what's more 80s than having a pet tiger?
Yes, for sure. What else? Yeah, I can't think of what it might be, and I'm probably going to kick myself pretty hard.
Yeah. Well, I guess I might as well actually give out its release date. I think it came out in 1984 off the top of my head.
Okay. Yeah, it still doesn't help a lot.
Was it 83? I'm not sure.
Do you know the director?
God, his name's not coming to my head right now. I know the score was done by an Italian fella. I think it was like Giorgio. I can't remember the last name. I think his first name was like Giorgio.
Right. The only Italian composer I know is, I'm gonna get his name completely wrong. Ennio Morricone, who did the music for The Good, Bad, and the Ugly, and Fistful of Dollars, and all those spaghetti westerns.
I might as well. God, I can't remember the other names for the other roles, so I might as well give the lead role.
Sure.
The actor for the lead role.
Yep.
Al Pacino.
Al Pacino. Oh, okay.
Now.
Yeah, and now I understand why you brought up because I do know that there is also a Scarface movie from the 30s.
Yeah. Finally, took you long enough.
Yes.
Although I guess a round of applause for trying.
Which I do also have on my list because I have seen.
Oh, it's good. You must watch it.
Yeah, so I've seen the Al Pacino Scarface, but I haven't seen the one from the 30s. But
I was talking about the Al Pacino one. That one's really good.
Yeah, it is classic.
Like I think
for sure.
I've watched it close to a dozen times.
Yeah,
and still enjoy it.
Awesome.
Like I say, he absolutely killed it in that role.
Yeah, for sure. He did very much embody the character completely. And obviously that classic final scene.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'll say your favourite scene from Scarface.
Cool. It's been a while since I've watched it. There's there was one scene that actually popped up in my mind. I think it was like last week. I can't remember what it is now, but it was just sort of like there's these sort of because the character himself takes himself so seriously, he sort of does some funny things ironically. So like when he's obviously sort of drugged out himself, he sort of tells people off in a very, very funny way. Just can't remember what it was now, the line, but yeah, there's some really good, I think, unintentional comedic moments.
I would say it would have been hilarious. I wouldn't be surprised, especially considering it's the 80s, that there were actually drugs on the set.
Yeah. Apparently what they do is they get vitamin B12 and crush that up. And if you know what that is, it is sort of like an energy enhancing sort of drug in itself. So there are stories where on those movie sets where actors have to, snort fake cocaine, that the B12 itself sort of has almost a similar effect, after taking so much of it.
Well, I guess there's also if you believe it's the actual stuff, there's that placebo effect. I guess.
That could definitely be true as well. The placebo effect of being so engaged in becoming the character that it just sort of has that effect.
It's like I kind of sort of remember some of the thoughts I had towards the end, the race of the 24 Hours of Le Mans.
Yeah.
And it's like kind of some interesting stuff.
Right. Yeah.
I think I was even in deep thought about the deep thoughts I was having while racing.
Yeah.
That's just how meta I was getting towards the end. And I think just kind of shows you what kind of state I was in by the end of it.
Definitely. That will happen when you're sort of pushing your body to its sort of limits, you'll sort of be introspective, but then be able to be introspective on the original introspective thoughts. So can be a funny.
Not only that, but I was able to call up some memories that I surprised I could remember.
That's interesting.
Because I was like, I must have gotten off of some tangent about like if I had kids, I'd get them a bike, and then kind of was reminiscing about me growing up riding bikes and that, which. Because I remember I spent a lot of time on training wheels, and when I got to a certain age, my dad took them off, and for the life of me could not ride a bike and just gave up. And then several years later, so I was like, fuck it, I'll give it another go.
Sure.
Fucking nailed it straight away without the training wheels.
Nice.
After so many attempts and just giving up.
For sure.
So one day just said, bugger it, I'll have a go for it, and just hopped on and nailed it.
Yeah. Cool.
I don't know how that would happen. I would to be perfectly honest, if you gave up because you kept failing, and then you come back to it years later and then perfectly nail it, how does that even happen?
I guess if you were so comfortable with the training wheels on that, so trying to ride the bike without them, it would be almost like the effect of just being so uncomfortable trying to do that same thing without that sort of comfort device there. Whereas then later on, you're sort of a little bit bigger and more mature, and more determined, I guess, to do it as well, that you sort of just push through, that worry that the comfort isn't there, wasn't as big. So you're sort of just able to power through it because you're so determined to just get it done.
I think, I'm not sure if I even fell off once or twice actually in the attempt. I think I didn't fall off at all.
Right.
Well, I did fall off once, but because I just went up a slope at a weird angle.
Yeah, for sure.
And like, even if you knew what you're doing, it would be like you'd have to would have to shift your weight a certain way, or you would fucking fall on your side.
Yeah.
So it was just, I guess, not being that experienced going on an angle that even an experienced person would probably have a hard time with.
Yeah, definitely. Your favourite scene from Scarface?
I would say it'd have to be Every Dog Has His Day, that scene.
Okay. Yes. Cool. What, anything specific about it?
Oh, it's just the way it plays out. I just find interesting and intriguing.
Yeah, okay. Cool. Awesome.
Not only that, but it kind of also just shows that shift in power and that.
Yeah, for sure. Is a good one for that, definitely.
Although honourable mention is to that final scene.
Yeah, I'm
not sure what it's called, but I always refer to it as the say hello to my little friend scene.
For sure. Yeah, it is sort of the if he's gonna go out, he might as well go out in a blaze of glory. Which,
although there is a video game that does tie in with the movie.
Right.
Although I guess the game kind of works as what if, Tony Montana does survive that final scene.
Oh, okay. Right. That's interesting. I know there is a game, but I didn't know that it sort of went that far.
Yeah, it literally starts with the say hello to my little friend.
Oh, right. Interesting.
Not only that, but for a game that came out in 2006, it's ahead of its time because a lot of the features that you see in Grand Theft Auto 5, that game had those features similar to that, and I wouldn't be surprised if Rockstar took inspiration from it.
Interesting. I guess
so that's like, what, 5 or 6 years before 5, 6, 7 years before GTA 5.
That sounds about right.
So it was like 2012 or 2013, or even 2011, GTA 5 came out.
Yeah. It's hard to tell. It's been around and still so popular.
Yeah.
It's
a very interesting success story. But I think it's the online that keeps it popular.
Yep. Yeah. I don't think there's too much funny? More. Yeah.
That the GTA Online's outlast Red Dead Online.
Yeah. definitely has.
But I think it's just the attention Rockstar's been paying to GTA Online over Red Dead Online has
For
hurt
sure.
it.
Yeah, there's that. I think sort of mods come into play as well, where I think it's just easier for like PC players to be able to mod GTA 5 a lot easier, it seems.
Although there's some interesting mods for Red Dead Redemption 2 though.
Yeah. Yeah.
Although, if I had to say which one was the better game, Red Dead Redemption 2 is better than GTA 5.
Yeah, for sure. I guess GTA 5, the story of being able to play the three different people and sort of...
It's an interesting mechanic.
Yeah, it was definitely. But yeah, the story of Red Dead Redemption 2 was...
a masterpiece.
Yeah. Yeah, it...
I guess it had big shoes to fill in though.
It definitely did. Obviously, Red Dead 1 was...
I think actually the story of Red Dead 1 actually holds up today.
Oh yeah, for sure. I wouldn't be surprised if someone comes along to Rockstar wanting the rights to turn it into, its own TV series or a film series, because it could be quite good.
I don't think they would do it, and I don't think it would actually work that well, but it would be interesting to see them give it a shot.
Yeah, I don't think Rockstar would let it go too easily, but yeah.
Not only that, but how would you capture that experience from the game?
Yeah, I think you would have to do it as a TV series. Definitely, a studio like HBO, I think could do it quite well.
Oh yeah, I think if anyone could do it, it'd be HBO. I gotta say, may the Lord have mercy on its soul if Rooster Teeth got their hands on it.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I don't think they would actually be able to pull something like that off.
No, definitely not.
Because I think if it's more comedic, I think they could have pulled it off, but
sure.
I find Red Dead Redemption more of a serious series, even though it does have some comedic elements to it.
Yes, for sure. It definitely has its moments, obviously, that sort of little mission early on with Lenny, taking him to the pub.
Not only that, but have you done for Red Dead 2 have done the famous Gunslinger's side mission?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, the stick of dynamite in the shit.
Yeah. Yeah. There is some good side missions, and obviously even like Red Dead 1, you had I can't remember the character's name, but there was that guy who's like the grave robber, and you work with him quite a bit.
Oh yeah, his name's not coming to me, but yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah,
he's an interesting fella. I'd say Seth, but I think that's the Irish fella.
It might be Seth. Yes.
So let's continue, shall we?
Yeah, it might be Seth. I know. Yeah, I think there is a Seth in Red Dead 2 as well, which I think is the Irish guy. But maybe it is Seth as well in Red Dead 1. Obviously not the same Seth.
Yeah. Because didn't he get his head blown off in an ambush in
yes.
Rhodes?
Yes, he definitely did.
I wasn't a fan of him. I just kind of found him a bit of an arsehole, but isn't that what kind of my sirens are? They have a little bit of arsehole in them?
I think so. Yeah.
Watch how many Irish people are offended. Even though I have Irish heritage myself.
For sure.
So I guess that kind of cancels that out, I guess.
A little bit. But yeah, there's definitely some funny moments throughout the entire story.
Although, who's the better pro tag, Arthur or John?
I guess it's hard to say because you sort of get a bit more of a well-rounded idea of who John is from playing through Red Dead 2, where he's not the sort of not necessarily the sort of lovable character that you know him to be from the first one. There's obviously sort of he leaves the gang and which wasn't very respectable, I guess. Whereas that just taking John's story from Red Dead 1, he's you could almost say that he's more lovable or charming than Arthur. But they're two quite similar characters in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I think the biggest difference is that kind of, even though they were both brought up by Dutch,
yes,
they had different upbringings, like,
yeah,
because Arthur definitely kind of, wholeheartedly believed in what Dutch was saying, where John not so much, and that kind of explains the way he behaves.
For sure, yeah, absolutely.
It explains how they both behave.
Yes, definitely.
Especially early on, like you can see Arthur, especially at the start, believes in Dutch blindly, but you can kind of see where he starts to lose that trust.
Yeah.
Or I guess belief.
Yes. And there's some little moments where sort of Arthur's love interest, is writing to him, which, sort of shows so a little bit more of that connectedness that he does have to John, where, he sort of, Arthur knows that he should leave. And that's, I guess, the sort of conversation they have at the end is like, I wanted exactly sort of what you have, and now you have the opportunity to have everything, to have an actual life, where sort of Arthur had to, he sort of makes the decision to give it all up because, as you said, he's has that sort of blind faith in the pie in the sky sort of ideas of Dutch. Which
actually, that was a segment that I was going to include. We might as well do it here. Your thoughts on Dutch Vanderlyn. Is it Vanderlyn or Vanderlint? I think I've heard it as both.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Good question.
Although I think it is, Vanderlyn.
I think it is Vanderlyn. I guess, you sort of, you want to believe in him. I think that's the idea of his character, is that you as the audience members playing along, following the story, you also sort of fall to liking him quite a lot, and you want him to be right as well. But obviously,
Yeah, I kind of definitely on my first playthrough of Red Dead Redemption 2 wanted everything to work out in the end.
Even though you knew.
Even though, it doesn't.
Yeah.
But that just shows you, again, how strong of a pull Dutch has.
For sure. I think that's one of the best things about Red Dead 2 was that it's sort of showed you the humanity to Dutch, whereas obviously in Red Dead 1 you don't really get that. You just get this picture of him being
after he loses everything and has got nothing left to lose.
Yeah, this crazy man that's always been crazy. He's always, been the worst type of outlaw. Just a killing machine. Backstabber, double crosser sort of guy. Where in reality, he was just always searching for family and wanting to be that sort of that father figure that could provide for his family quite sufficiently and even more so. So
which kind of makes sense considering his father did die during the Civil War.
Yeah. So
I wonder if you actually knew about that.
I think so. Yeah, it's been a while since I've done a deep dive into all the characters and their backstories and whatnot. But yeah, I remembered that a little bit.
Although I got to say that the last few words that Dutch speak kind of do sum him up.
Yeah, you'll have to refresh.
Really?
Yeah, it's been a while.
I know it's been a while for me, but I can kind of remember the lines almost as yesterday.
Yeah.
Just because of the impact they had, especially
sure.
Once you learn about Dutch and Red Dead Redemption 2, it just gives those words a whole lot more weight.
Yeah.
Wait, they were kind of missing if you were just to experience the first game by itself.
Yeah. What were they?
I'd say, like, probably after this, you may want to look up that
Sure.
kind of cutscene, or if you want, revisit Red Dead 1.
Yeah, okay. Right.
Which I recommend you do. I'll probably do after I finish up Red Dead 2 so I can do it in chronological order.
Yeah, for sure. I did the same thing after finishing Red Dead 2. I went back and played Red Dead 1. Yeah, but it's still been a while.
Actually, I think my first time playing Red Dead 2, and then I actually played Red Dead 1 for the first time after 2. So
right.
I actually experienced it chronologically.
Yeah, okay.
Because I think I got both 1 and 2 around the same time, I think. I can't remember which order I did it.
Yeah, okay.
Although I did kind of play Red Dead Redemption 1 before playing 2, but it was just over a cousin's place, so I don't really count it as playing it because it's more just playing it because there's nothing else to play.
For sure.
But I enjoyed it enough that, I kind of, once I got my Xbox, I was like, I want to get Red Dead 1. And and 2 was coming out. I got hyped for the trailers, so I was like, fuck it, I might as well get both.
Cool.
And I think I ended up getting both for Christmas.
Nice.
Because didn't actually Red Dead 2 come out around Christmas?
I'm not sure.
I think it was like a few months before Christmas.
I think so, yeah, because I got it probably about the April. The April after it was released. I'm pretty sure I got it because I played it during the first coronavirus lockdown. That's when I delved super deep into it.
Yeah, like I think I was playing it well before the corona hit.
Yeah. So I my experience was basically not having a lot to do in
it's definitely that game to take up that kind of time.
For sure. In April 2020 and just sunk my teeth into it. It was lots of fun.
I guess I might as well kind of end this segment with my thoughts on Dutch, I guess, which...
For sure.
Even with thinking about it, it's still kind of complicated because I can definitely see that he's not a good person, but at the same time, I just can't help but fall for him.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure that is, the exact thing that they want you, the storytellers. He's, he's the underdog and he's sort of like, but he's also the underdog who's the head of the underdogs. He's the inspiration, giving all these people that sort of have grown up, at the bottom of the world, or at least sort of the modern world as it was back then, inspiration to be able to be better and just obviously not in a lawful way.
Well, again, it's interesting. It's a shame we don't get to see it, but there was a point in time where they did live up to all those values.
Yeah, I remember, I think it might have been in one of like the journals or something. They sort of mentioned that a little bit of how there was a point in time where, they were quite lawful of a gang and was sort of more like a Robin Hood sort of thing.
Yeah, like I think it's the scrap piece of paper that mentions the first high staff that did with the gang.
That's it. And sort of obviously...
Like how it mentions that, that they went to, I think, a poor area and gave money to the poor that they just robbed from the bank.
Yes, that's it. So it would be interesting, I guess.
But then I guess it got to the point where they stopped kind of giving that money away and kept it to themselves.
Yeah, and I wonder if, that was all Dutch's influence or whether that was sort of a unanimous decision to start going down that more bandit outlaw route.
I think it's just because of the changing of the times and that.
Yeah, there is that, and obviously Dutch talks a lot about that of just sort of being left in the past, particularly when they go to Saint Denis, and everything's.
Oh yeah, you can definitely see his dislike for Saint Denis as well as Blackwater.
Yes, yeah, for sure.
It actually explains why he attacks Blackwater a lot, especially in the first game.
Yep.
Because it's the symbol of everything he hates.
Yeah.
Because it's
progress.
Yes, it's a small town, but it's starting to transition into a city.
Yeah.
So it started out as something that he saw as ideal, and it's being turned into what he considers as, well, what's the word he uses? I can't remember what word he uses, but yeah, just into something that is, well, I guess his nightmare, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, his worst nightmare. Just civilization progressing into something less quaint, I guess. Less simple, much more chaotic. Especially, with the introduction of many more laws and many more law people. With what's the guy's name? I can't think of it, but yeah, just sort of like the government sort of coming in, a bit more prevalent and disrupting their way of life.
Oh yeah, because once the government shows up, they're going to put their foot down.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think a lot of people would have had similar views to Dutch, especially in that time period.
Yeah. I mean, it's still a big question to this day, I guess. When it comes to rural towns and sort of the city folk telling rural towns how to live their lives. When obviously.
Well, one thing, like I say, I do like about the rural life is just kind of you don't need to. You can really kind of carry your own weight, so to speak.
Yeah, for sure. There's that little bit more freedom, a little bit more of a sense of community and sort of togetherness, for sure.
And I think that's a lot of things that we're missing in civilization nowadays. Is that everything what's funny? Even though social media brings all of us together, it's actually doing the opposite. It's actually making everyone further apart.
Yeah, it's
because you'd rather just interact with people on your phone rather than face to face.
There's definitely that.
So it's actually instead of bringing together a community, it's actually separating a community.
Yeah, and you could sort of argue that instead of it pulling everyone together and there being this community of sort of a lot of different ideas being able to sort of filter and come together and combine ideas to make sort of the best of both worlds. It's separated a lot of people into their own little
camps.
Their own little camps and their own echo chambers of of very specific ideas.
And actually, as the point of the song "Come As Ya" by Nirvana, it's kind of like those echo chambers are kind of like you can be a part of it, but you gotta be like as the lines say, that's the way I want you to be.
Yes, for sure.
Took me a bit to kind of get the line correct.
Yeah, that is definitely a big part of it. It's sort of you can be part of the club, but only if you are.
If you conformed.
You conform, for sure. It's it's sort of scary.
How a little bit. The song is still true to up to the present.
Yeah.
Even more so than it was when it came out.
Yes, for sure. Definitely onto something. And there's lots of other songs and bits of media that still ring very true to this day. Like I was listening to some Bob Dylan yesterday and just listening to some of his sort of anti-war protest songs and sort of thinking about the situation in Europe. Obviously, a lot of those things still stand quite true. Which is
actually, I'm not sure if I asked you about favourite Bob Dylan song.
Mine?
Yeah.
Oof. There's one There's one that he does with Johnny Cash, and it's called.
This would be interesting.
And it's, they did I'm pretty sure they did a whole album together, but this the big single or the big sort of classic one from it is The Girl from Up North, or the Girl from Northern Country, I think it's called. It's sort of just like a sort of a sad love song in a way. But they sort of do dueling vocals.
Oh, that would be interesting to hear.
Yeah.
For me, my favorite would be either The Times They Are Changing or Blowing in the Wind.
Yeah. Yeah, the two absolute classics, earliest songs. That got quite popular through the anti-war period in America.
Well, I've got to say, a lot of the message behind those songs still ring true.
For sure. Absolutely.
Especially The Times They Are Changing.
Yes.
That one, more true than it probably was back then.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't think you'd be wrong making that statement. There's probably more.
I knew I was wrong. I probably wouldn't have made the statement anyway.
There's probably more.
Even if I think I'm wrong with a statement, I won't bring it up.
Sure. Yeah, I think you'd be pretty right. But yeah,
I think there's bits of Blowing in the Wind that kind of still ring true, but I don't think the whole thing does.
Right. Yeah. They're sort of a product of the time, but still
relevant.
Yeah, for sure.
Which that's kind of hard for media to stay relevant.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. I think that's sort of the one thing when it comes to music and poetry, is that it's they seem to be the two that sort of can last the times, where it's maybe film and art maybe don't. They seem to have a bit more of a time stamp, I guess.
Yeah, like you can tell that's from that time period and such.
Yep, for sure.
I'll say even though like the Avengers and like Marvel are really relevant now, in a few decades I don't think there will be, especially with the way our things are going. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, the sort of the general basis of the stories will still be quite relevant, but I think the overall characters and the just the media itself will definitely be quite time stamped, for sure.
Well, it definitely breathed new life into a genre that was dying, but now it seems to be dying again.
Yeah, it's there's that formulaic pattern that's definitely taken hold of Marvel.
It's like, isn't there like a ratio like of amount of like jokes and that?
I wouldn't be surprised. That is definitely.
That's actually probably what's hurting it, because it's like, we've got to fill our quota of jokes, and they put it into a serious scene, and it just ruins it.
For sure.
Like, I think what Black Widow, I think, is the worst example. I haven't seen it, but I've heard a person rant about it, and
right.
Especially with this one scene where it's like it's all like serious and that, and a joke, and it just kind of ruined it for him. And I think if I was to experience that scene myself, it probably would have taken me out of it as well. Yeah,
there is a little bit of that, and I think that maybe comes more down to the idea that a lot of those movies have sort of reshoots where, you have the original idea, and then it goes to screening, and then it comes back where, we need more comedy, or we need less of this or more of that. And maybe it's the reshoots which hurt it.
I guess.
Yeah. But that is that's a large conversation, maybe for another day.
Yeah. We kind of need to start wrapping up.
Yes, this was a pretty long one.
Yeah. I think probably going to be the longest one for a while.
Probably.
I'll say, I guess we'll see how long it is in post.
Yeah, for sure.
I gotta say, even though I had a good night's sleep after all having not that much sleep, it's like, do I want to do the outro?
Sure. I can take this one.
Well, I guess it's kind of my turn because you did the last one, I did the one before,
sure.
So I guess we'll do that. So I could just use past me, but no, I'm gonna just do this live. So thanks for tuning in to, what is it, episode 3 of the podcast?
Episode 3.
Oh yeah, the Some People podcast. And I guess thanks for listening, and hopefully catch you next time where I can actually keep my words about well, I guess I did joke about actually not speaking about default DJ, so I guess I'm living up to that joke. But Hi everyone, this is future me here. I'm just coming here to tell you that the joke I was going to do sucked so badly that, well, I just had to tell you about it. And no, I'm not going to release it. Never, ever, ever. There's no way you could make me.